cannot travel outwards at this same speed, the speed of sound. That is, at sea level, the speed of sound is about 760 miles per hour. The speed of sound.
Welcome back to the Speed of Sound. I am your host, Allie Roeder, joined here today by motorsports enthusiast, DJ, race car driver, Brad Perez, and just all-around amazing human, badass guy, bassist for the band Cloakroom, Bobby Marcos.
Thank you for that. I needed that. It's like a shot of it. That was like a shot of espresso for me. Dragging here.
No, sometimes I shoot from the hip. You know, whatever comes to mind.
Appreciated.
Bang.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. But yeah, here we are, the band of Misfit Toys, and we've got a real doozy today. We got a real special treat for our listeners. We have our first guest on the show, and my oh my, what a guest it is! Zack Robbins from the band Superheaven. I can't wait.
Dude, I love Superheaven more than most things in this entire world. And for some reason, Bobby, of course, is good friends with him.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Got a lot of history with a lot of people, but Zach's a tremendous human. And all those guys are great. But Zach and I bonded over a love of auto racing. So I think anytime you've spent a lot of time with somebody and then you discover something as niche as a love for racing, that kind of elevates your friendship beyond just being like at show friends. You become texting friends. So Zach was an easy get. He's great. And evidently he's a diehard Speed of Sound listener. So we appreciate him for that. It's huge.
Amazing. Yeah, that is. We appreciate the support. Before we dive into the interview, we'll do some general housekeeping. We'll do our new Music Friday. We want to talk about Coachella a little bit. But what's going on in your worlds? What's new?
I got to work for probably the largest YouTube influencer in all of motorsports.
Whoa.
Cletus McFarland. That was an experience. I was hired by Rhett Jones Racing to do tires on the 30 and 0 car. Him and his very good homie Squirrel McNutt. And I never thought in my life that I would be doing tires for somebody named Cletus McFarland and Squirrel McNutt in an ARCA race at Kansas. And that is exactly what happened. And we didn't crash.
Wow.
Cletus's car, the motor blew up. That was a whole deal. But our car was good, and we are going to Talladega. So by the time this comes out, we'll probably be in Talladega or something, and gonna do tires again on that car. So we will see what happens.
The week before didn't you end up on TV again? Hasn't it been?
Oh yeah.
Since our last show that you were in Bristol.
Oh,
I was just trying to piece that
end
together in my brain.
Yes, you are so right, Bobby. There was this other huge bit of news too. Brad.
Yeah, I hopped in the car again.
What went down at Bristol, sir?
My teammate Logan, he had back issues during the race because the seat didn't fit very good. Ironically, my seat was the seat he was in because he thought we would fit. He's just like an inch taller than me, and we didn't think that was going to be a problem. It was a problem.
Oh no!
And I was about to do pit stop for Ryan Ellis, and they were like, Brad, get your stuff on. And it's loud in Bristol. If you've ever been there, it's loud. So I'm like, what? I'm like, stuff. And I'm like, I don't know what you said, but okay, I guess I'll put my stuff on. And and then hopped in 0 laps at Bristol. Yeah.
0 laps at Bristol. And here you are thrown in the car, deep end of the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Wow. What was the biggest takeaway? What was the biggest, from sim to actually racing the track at Bristol Motor Speedway?
There is no exaggeration when people say you will forget to breathe. There's people say that and I'm like, I'm going to forget to breathe. Whatever, dude. No, it's I was calm. My heart rate probably didn't go over 140 or something, probably at the most. But the yellow had come out and then I'm like, Oh God, I hadn't breathed in that much in like 30 minutes. And
Wow.
it for real, like you get in there and you're like, and you don't realize how little your chest is uncompressing because of the G forces. And yeah, you forget to breathe. So
Wow.
I forgot to breathe.
That's insane. Wow. I've heard like within the first few laps, it's like you don't even know what's up, what's down, what's left or right. Is that true?
No. Yeah.
Like directionally, it's just.
Yeah. They're like, did you ever forget which one was the front stretch and which one was the back stretch? And I'm like, yeah, I did. At one point, I couldn't tell what side I was on. And then I realized, oh, the track is asymmetrical. They're both ends are not the same. And then that's when it made me realize which side I was on.
It clicked.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's actually a hot tip. I don't think a lot of people knew that. Yeah.
Bristol is asymmetrical. They're not equal corners.
Wow. Damn. I'll have to be a fly on the wall in that car with you. With your seat in it, which still boggles my mind. But hats off to you, man.
Eyes wide open, no exhaust coming from my mouth. Just straight breath.
Oh my God. That's crazy. And Bobby, how about you? What's going on in your world?
Well, when we last adjourned, I was running out the door to go catch that album run that I was talking about for accessories. So
yes,
my wife and I did make it. We were late. We were late by like 5 minutes. Don't be. No, I mean, well, it ended up being fine. But like we were going. So the run happens on this trail in Chicago, like I was telling you about, the 606 trail. We parked our car. We're like sprinting to get to the trail because we knew we had missed the jump off point, and we came across another running group, but we didn't realize it. We were like, oh, cool, they didn't start yet. And the guy's like, are you here for the 606 running? And we're like, oh yeah, let's do it. And we're like standing there, and then all of a sudden the guy starts introducing the running group. I'm like, oh, this is another running group. So Lindsay and I had to like awkwardly kind of back out and like run away because they're like everyone's like introducing themselves, And I'm like, okay, well, we got to get out of this somehow. So we made it up to the 606. We thankfully had like the link, so we're already listening to the accessory album, and we start our run, and we ran across the other guys that were in the album runs group, and then we did the run. It was albums. Awesome. We'll talk about that more later. And then we did we went to the local pub and did the Q&A with Jason from Accessory, which was really cool. So we got the full experience. It was awesome. But
dude,
did that.
That is so unique.
That concept is so
cool. And definitely follow them on Instagram. Album Runs, it's called, and they do them every month or sometimes more, but they got, there's a lot of people that do it. There was probably like between 20 and 30 people, I think, that did it, and
super
participated in the Q&A. It was really solid, So did that. We went as I said in the last episode, my brother-in-law's been playing guitar for Anthony Green, so we went and caught a couple more performances. We went to Chicago at the Salt Shed, which is an incredible venue if you haven't been, and finally got to go backstage at the Salt Shed, which is like super luxurious and awesome. Like, they definitely had a juicer in the green room and people making fresh juice for everybody, which was pretty crazy.
What the hell?
What kind of juice? Orange, OJ?
Just whatever, whatever you thought. They had like a basket.
Whatever we can juice, we'll juice it.
They had a basket of fruit and vegetables, and you kind of got to pick your own concoction.
Oh,
and,
dude.
So
yeah,
cool.
I'm obsessed
it was
with
epic.
that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. So
I'll do that.
But we did Chicago, and then we drove up to Detroit and caught the show at the Majestic Theater, which was incredible. I'd been next door. It's right next door to the Magic Stick. So I'd played the Magic Stick before, but like I'd never been in the theater part of it, and it was beautiful. So we caught that. We ran around Belle Isle, which was like the IndyCar course for a long time, which was pretty cool. Wow. So we got to run in there. I listened to that new Square Pusher record on the run, which was a decision that I made, It's definitely
an extra 3 mile an hour on the run there.
That was something else. Yeah. So, but no, yeah, we had a lot of fun traveling and catching those gigs.
That sounds lovely.
Dude, you got to freaking play bass for freaking.
I did. Yeah, that was a
pinch me moment.
That was my equivalence to jumping in the car at Bristol. That was like
playing for Anthony Green.
Yeah. My brother-in-law, like we jammed a little bit. Like when we were in Austin, we were all like just playing guitars outside the bus after and singing folk songs and just like kind of having like campfire karaoke, you know. But then I think my brother-in-law had mentioned to Anthony that like, you know, my wife and I were coming to those shows, and Anthony's like, oh, like we should see if Bobby wants to jam. I was like, oh man, you know, that's a lot of pressure. Like, you know, not only like the scenario, but then they're like big shows. So you're playing in front of like thousands of people too, you know? So, I played guitar, which I really like, I play bass, so I play some guitar, but like just kind of like jumping in like at sound check and just being like, okay, I got to like shake off the nerves of the situation. And then like ran it at sound check. It felt pretty good. And then, yeah, I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, you know, knocked it out. It was awesome.
Wow.
That's so cool.
In the belly of the beast.
I tried looking,
insane.
like, I'm glad you said that was because I was trying to figure out what song that was. I've never heard this song before.
Yeah.
So now I'm very excited to listen to it.
Wow. Yeah. There's a recording, like a video, like a proper film and recording of a session they did in Pennsylvania. It was like an acoustic performance. I think it was from around New Year's Eve, but they made like a proper film of this, and this song's on that recording. And I think they even posted like a clip of it on social media, but it's not like out on an album yet. So I think that's to come in the future. But yeah, this was a new song, and I had heard it's a song my brother-in-law wrote. I'd heard this song in its infancy years ago, so I remember it like super well. So that kind of gave me some advantage to being able to like, okay, I like roughly know how the song goes, you know? So I wasn't coming into it like completely, you know, cold turkey or whatever.
That is actually 1-to-1 what it is like to get into a car at Bristol right there. That is.
Yeah.
Do I kind of know? Yeah. Do I really know? No, but I do.
I didn't do a ton of, now that I think about it, I didn't do a ton of breathing up on stage either. I was just kind of like, okay, you know, yeah, this is.
The G-forces.
Yeah, this is happening. Yeah. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah. For you looking to your right and seeing Anthony Green would be like me looking to my right and seeing Kyle Larson. It's like, yeah.
Yeah. Similar, actually. Pretty similar. Yeah.
Well, other big news in the music world as well, Coachella. What did we think? Tons of social media buzz. I mean, there's been live performance releases, things on YouTube, things released all over the place. What are our takeaways? What kind of hit you guys, and what were your initial reactions?
There is so much like that. It's actually hard to put into words how many performances that there were and how many performances kind of like exceeded like my expectations. Are like, you know, obviously there's a lot of artists that we knew that were going to be on the bill, but then there's also a lot of artists that I otherwise probably wouldn't have listened to that, you know, when you're that artist on the bottom side of the bill, like you have to do something to like gain that attention and show what you got. You might not never get that opportunity ever again. And I'm not going to say this as being like, oh, like nobody knows who this is, but Dijon was an artist that I love. And McGee obviously is a big collaborator. They worked with Bieber. Like they've written probably like the most different pop sounding like indie music that I've ever heard, where like it's sample bass and it has like hip hop drums, but it's like real loops. They went on stage during Dijon's set and had the entire production on stage. And it was like the mixing board, like the front of house mixing board was on stage. Like that is a member of the band. They had all the different types of guitars, loopers, the reverbs, the choruses, everything was done on stage. So everything that basically pumped out of the PA was not a sample, was not a pre-recorded, there was no backing tracks. There was no like Ableton Live press space bar. Like it was purely whatever sound came out of all of those instruments on stage into the PA. So that is something that I have never seen before. I've never, obviously there's bands that play to a click and, that's a whole nother thing. But there's bands that don't. But even when there are bands that don't play to a click, your front of house person isn't in the band. Like they're not in the show. And seeing all of that in front of you and seeing all the sound produced directly in front of you, and especially an artist that is not necessarily underground doing it, I thought was really cool and really refreshing.
Yeah, I That definitely caught my eye. I've seen that more prevalent in like the electronic music world. Like, like there's a band, Warp Records band called Sabres of Paradise that like they were popular in the 90s and they got back together. But like, I remember seeing they had this huge mixing board and then they had a full band and the guy was like mixing it, happening it in real time. And that like kind of was like really eye-opening experience, but like never on a stage like Coachella do you see something like that. Like usually it's like pop artists do such a crazy job of like streamlining it down to being like one lone person. Rarely do you kind of get to look behind the curtain and see the entire how the sausage is being made. You know what I mean?
And of all stages, like the amount of pressure that Coachella brings on a band, on a live performance, I mean, it's gutsy. I have so much respect for that choice because holy moly, I mean.
Yeah. I felt like watching that, I felt like I was just like sitting in on a session.
Yeah.
Like I rewatched the whole thing, like somebody recorded it from the crowd and it felt like we were kind of just there watching them do a session. And then they would morph slowly into another song that's like, oh, that's that song. And like watch them just kind of like synchronize, and seeing a band that's like stoked and having that chemistry on stage. And like there's not like crazy lights, there's nobody in the darkness, like everyone's just well lit, and watching them do that is like it's very bare. Like it's very like, that's the equivalent of literally just standing out there naked playing music. It's like there's nothing to hide. Like I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And evidently rock music's back. Did you hear?
Hey, apparently. Dude, Turnstile, main stage.
This whole time I've been wasting my life, without realizing that I was out of fashion, and now it's all of a sudden it's back. It's
cool
time.
again.
Yeah. I had no idea.
We went so far into this direction that we ended up going back this direction. And now it's cool to pick up an instrument again. Everybody, kids, pick up your dang instrument. Go to the pawn shop and buy a Squire Strat.
Yep.
Go get one.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously,
right
Turnstile had a huge show, and it's cool to read about. Drain was getting a lot of like props, and I feel like that might be the first. So like, if we're looking at like the billing of a major festival, right? Like we're going to start to see the Turnstile effect, right? Them breaking the barriers for like hardcore music and punk music to be kind of like accepted by this wide mainstream audience. Drain definitely, it seems like they reaped the benefit of that. Like, because I read a lot. I think if this was 5 years ago and they were just kind of like the token hardcore band, you wouldn't have heard so much about it. But like in the wake of Turnstile happening, Drain had a big highlight on them, which is really awesome to see.
Yeah, that reminds me of that had to be like 2015 or 16. You had to look at the bill and you were like, oh, all these people, and then you see on the bottom it's like Title Fight.
Yep.
And we're like, oh crap, Title Fight is playing Coachella. This is going to be ridiculous, because we're used to seeing like no barricade shows with them at the time that they were booked. And I'll never forget, like right at the festival, we were all super aware of like that set occurring, like all my friends and stuff that were super aware of them. And there was a picture. It was a very famous photo. We'll probably end up seeing this. Like, I'm gonna put it in the clip here. I remember seeing this photo of some kid stage diving at Coachella and basically like landing over this girl wearing a flower crown, which was like insanely popular. And that was just like the whole, like, this is a hilarious sideshow that is occurring at this massively commercial festival. And this band from Kingston, Pennsylvania is just ruining it. and to think about how that has evolved into the Turnstile effect, and then a band like Drain, which arguably is less polished than Turnstile, I think. Yeah.
Way
and
less.
And all of it in less than Title Fight, less accessible, and then making it fun. And kids were like in on it. Like I was watching the video live and I'm like, the kids are loving this.
Yeah.
And just the future is crazy.
Yeah, it's great to see. Like I said, I think be curious to see as the year goes on. Now that, I mean, like Turnstile, obviously they've been having their moment for a couple of years now, but like this year they're going to be getting headlining slotting on festivals, right?
Everywhere.
So this is where this is where you're really going to start to see it down the bill who are these festival promoters going to pair with them? And it's going to be huge. It's going to have a big ripple effect going away from the festivals just into, regular tours that are getting announced too,
Yeah, this will help people's numbers insanely. Like when I just saw Drain on their headliner right before they went to Coachella, they packed that room like crazy.
Yeah.
We were at the Orange Peel in Asheville, and the place was slam packed. And it's not like, they had pretty popular bands on the bill with them, and they had No Pressure and Haywire. But like Drain by themselves, the entire place was rocking. Like the floor was about to fall off the thing. Like it was wild.
Saw a lot about Nine Inch Nails and Boys Noise, which I saw.
Sick.
I saw it right before. Like I saw them in Milwaukee. I think I talked about it a few episodes ago, and it's insane. But I was glad that they were getting their flowers because it's insane and it's super cool. And I hope they do more of that in the future.
Yeah, two absolute legends of the scene. Like Boys Noise has been around the electronic space forever. Like I'd put them up there with like the Justices and the Odessas of the world. The Aphex Twins. Once again, another Aphex Twin mention. But I think that the connection is really funny in music because like Boys Noise did like a collab piece. It was like 5 years ago with Skrillex. They made this group called Dog Blood, and it was a crazy fusion of sound that they did together. And to know that obviously Skrillex is a huge Nine Inch Nails fan and like contributed to a lot of stuff that Trent did, and even down to like the Challengers like soundtrack. And it almost felt weird that like how come like Trent and Boys Noise did not like come together at any point like in the middle of that to see two like analog forward huge electronic musicians come together and create a show that was not even just a show. Like now they released an album just recently that was the show, and the album itself doesn't even sound like a live album. Like the only thing that makes it sound like a live album was the crowd noise in the background. But I was listening to it and I'm like, this sounds like a studio recorded piece of music. And I really wish that would go in other places so I can witness it myself. But yeah, it was cool.
Hey, you know what? Shock and awe. Coachella's the place to do it. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, they have a chokehold over people's music. I found that out. I've been trying to look at all these sets. Like none of them were up because Coachella just struck them all down.
It's a good point too. It was hard. It was hard to find stuff. I was looking, and I'll mention her later, but for Casey Musgraves, and I like had to. It's
hard to find.
Yeah, it totally is. Yeah,
relying on the people.
Speaking of new music Friday, we have some mentions from the last 2 weeks, and then what's coming up as well. So we've got some Square Pusher to talk about. And the Bandcamp listening party. Bobby, I'm going to throw it over to you. I hopped on for this one too, but I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
Well, I love that this was probably your first experience with Square Pusher, which is
was.
Great. Good. This is a great entry point. I mean,
good.
Chamber concert, I believe, means chamber concert. So chamber music, right?
Yes.
So yeah, it's definitely like what he's known for, which is like this weird jazz influenced version of like dance music, but like through a like orchestrated chamber music, essentially.
Yes.
So like all the instrumentation was just like insane sounding, there's woodwind, there's strings, there's just like primitive
all the
piano
sections.
sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you bring in the kinetic energy of Square Pusher. And it's seriously just like, I felt like I just was seeing like a cartoon falling down a comically long flight of stairs. The entire album was just every little stair was just another hit, right?
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I was going to mention Looney Tunes. Took the words out of my mouth. That's so good.
I had to describe that.
I had the Bandcamp listening party on. Like, I know we were all texting about it, and we were driving. We had picked up my brother-in-law. We were driving him to the salt shed, and he got a call. So I like turned down the radio, but I didn't quite get it down to zero. And I heard him like talking, and in a moment when he stopped talking, I just heard this wild like xylophone solo, and I'm like, this has got to be the most like aggravating music to try and like have a conversation over, So that being said, I love
thing is predictable.
Yeah. No, it was so like it was all. If you could make an album that was 100% out of left field, he accomplished doing that. So
yes,
it was just just blindside after blindside. But no, it's amazing. I mean, he's brilliant, and for him to have been making music as long as he has and to continue to be able to like make inventive, interesting music is something to be said in itself. He's just a tremendous artist, and the amount of brain power it takes to be able to compose and arrange music on that level, that should not be overlooked. Like, it is, like, when you listen to it, like, this is wild and crazy, but like for him to be able to have like composed for all those instruments, it just goes to show like what brain that dude is working with. You know what I mean?
1000%. The creativity, the artistry, that's where my mind went. I'm like, what kind of headspace was he in? Because yes, it was wild and it was wonderful listening to it, but it's like, wow, the creativity just is abounding with this. And it just felt really special. It felt very special to be a part of it too on the Bandcamp listening party. I loved that. I loved sharing the experience with other people, kind of seeing the crazy comments.
Comments were
and
great.
The comments were so great, so
Comments
entertaining.
were amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, I really, really was digging that. And I'm excited to hopefully join more of those listening parties, because I thought that, well, gosh, what a great way to share it with people.
It was a little less interactive than the Greenhouse one I had done, but like Warp Records and all their artists are enigmas. They're just like, there's, if you didn't know better, you would just think none of them are real. Like, they're all just like, they're just UFO transmissions.
Characters.
Like, there's no, so like, I didn't expect Square Pusher to be in the chat, but like, it was still cool in itself to kind of have that like moment with like so many other people who were like really excited about it,
Totally agree. Yeah. So for our listeners, keep watch. Bandcamp, we love you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bandcamp. I talked about it a little bit earlier. I talked about the experience of doing the album runs, which was really cool. Dust is the name of the record. It's by Accessory. I think I mentioned it's Jason Bala, who's a songwriter from Chicago who plays in another band called Dead, DEHD. And this is kind of like his solo project. And it's the album's brilliant. It's really good. I think I had seen a live interpretation of this project called Accessory XL, which is him and just like a million musicians. And it's this crazy cacophony of like noise and reverb and delay pedals, which is brilliant and amazing. So that was kind of like my expectation going into this, but I was surprised to hear this album is a lot more piano driven and it's just very pop music minded. Like, the songs are concise and memorable and really catchy. So it's a testament to him as a songwriter. Like, I think he's really brilliant because he can do two different things super well. If you listen to Dead, the songs that he does in Dead are really like, they're like pop indie songs. They're super catchy. They're all earworms. And he kind of picks up that with Accessory for sure with this album.
That's awesome. I love that imagery. Earworms.
Yeah.
That's great.
Can't wait to see what I'm going to put on the playlist for that one. I'm very curious, actually.
Yeah, check them out. Yeah,
check out the Sweetest Sound playlist. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm cooking it up for y'all. Cooking it up. And check out the YouTube playlist that Bobby's going to cook up.
YouTube as well.
YouTube.
Love
the
it.
YouTubes. Yep.
We have one. That's great.
Starjunk 95. This is an artist that I have started to grow an affinity towards. I personally like DJing like fast house music, almost like you can almost call it melodic techno, how fast it is. And Starjunk 95 is an artist that is very much into the aesthetics of like, that Daft Punk album where like they had like this animation. It was past like Alive 2007 where it was a pure animated like universe around it. And like it was like aliens and they had like pink skin. It was like crazy. Starjunk 95 kind of like takes that concept and like brings it forward. Like it's like jet set radio music. If you're ever familiar with that video game, or like SSX Tricky, or like, if you're ever familiar with those video games, like Starjunk 95 makes sense. Like it's a very analog, old sounding, like cutesy poppy electronic music that almost feels like Japanese inspired, but given like a brand new twist, and like the mixing sounds super modern. And they actually were in Durham on last Saturday, while I was in Kansas. Sad. But that means, just letting you know, they are touring. So check to see if they're going to your city. It's super fun, cute music. great like up tempo dance music that is just boom boom, like it's like almost like Eurobeat, like, and it's super fun and the aesthetics are fun. I think it's like cool to look into their little cinematic universe they've created. Yeah. And they just dropped an album pretty recently, and I've been jamming it. Just kind of all the way through jamming it. Very rare you see electronic music albums that all have the same kind of idea towards it. I.e. Porter Robinson's Worlds. And this is one of those albums. So definitely recommend Star Junk 95. That was one that I did not put in my New Music Friday last week.
Okay, I got you. I was looking them up earlier and I was like, dang, look at these album covers. Okay. So I was intrigued. My interest is piqued.
Very colorful.
Yes. They are. Very cool. All right. Well, 4/24, that's a few days away from now. What are we looking at? What's getting us excited?
I'll go. So I'll keep it super short. Atreyu is a band that you are very much aware of if you are into heavy music. This is probably the gateway drug to all the heavy music you've ever listened to was Atreyu. And they are putting out an album called The End Is Not the End. I've listened to a couple of singles, and it is an Atreyu album, 100%. And if you're into them, you'd like it. I would like to reference a band that called I Killed the Prom Queen. If you guys are familiar with I Killed the Prom Queen, this album actually kind of sounds a little bit like I Killed the Prom Queen. Like it's not as much of an Atreyu album as that, but I like the super mathy riffs. I like a little tapping. I like that kind of deal, and they experiment a little bit with that in this one. Very curious to listen to the rest of it. If you're into straight up hardcore, the band that will never die, no matter how many band member iterations they will go through, Terror is putting out an album called Still Suffer. Yes, it is a Terror album. It sounds exactly what you think a Terror album will sound like. It's still a fun show. I got to see them literally 3 weeks before the entire world shut down in 2020. They played at a VFW in Las Vegas, and I think one of their members went to a race in Nashville and met me, and he knew that I liked Terror, which is hilarious. And we just chopped it up for a little bit. I forgot who it was, and maybe they could get on the show or something. I don't know. I forgot. That's how quick of a day that was. But Terror rocks with NASCAR, so that's kind of funny. So, and then last but not least, this is the album that I'm for sure going to listen to front to back. Jordan Rakei. I was actually talking about it with Allie right before the show started. And Between Us, it's an EP. FKJ is one of the artist that is being featured on this, and it's actually full of features. Like this whole album is just full of features, and I like that with a collaborative jazz neo soul album. And Jordan Rakei is very much a jazz neo soul artist, and kind of goes into the very subsects of that world of colorful melodies and I'm gonna throw an 11th on that chord, I'm gonna throw a 9th, I'm gonna screw it, it's random dissonance, it's kind of that kind of thing. So if you're a big jazz nerd, this is definitely the album for you, or EP for you. Very digestible because it's an EP. And a lot of live recorded instruments, not much fakeness, not a lot of program things. So if you're also into that, you'd like it.
It's really fresh. You were playing some samples and I was like, who is this? Oh, I like this. It got me. So I am super pumped now for that as well.
That's awesome. I need to check it out. I've got a couple. I've got, so in our little preview of our interview that's about to come up with Zack from Superheaven, we end up talking about a band called Failure. The band Failure, they're getting ready to put a new record out. They were, like I said, they're kind of like a forgotten band of the 90s. They had one hit. They're kind of like Hum, similar. They definitely, people tend to pair those two together, as far as influences go. If you like Hum, you'll probably like Failure. But Failure has since gotten back together, and they've been putting out more music. They just put out a single with Hayley Williams of Paramore's fame, because Hayley is a big Failure fan. I think she covered.
That's cool.
She always covered their single, their hit single "Stuck on You." She would cover that song. I think Paramore did. So
I've listened to that. Yeah.
So that's a Failure song from the 90s.
Wow.
But they just put out a single called "The Rising Skyline" with Hayley on it, and their record called "Your Favorite Toy" is coming out. So I'm definitely going to check that out. They're consistently great band, just super seasoned veteran musicians that know how to make really awesome alternative music. And I want to give a shout out to some friends of mine from Austin, Texas called Portrayal of Guilt. They're getting ready to put a new record out on Run for Cover, which we've talked a lot about on this podcast, but their record called Beginning of the End is coming out, and they span a lot of genres and the heavy spectrum, black metal, post-hardcore, grindcore, all these things. Like they're, very aggressive, choppy drumming, scary vocals, big sounding guitars. They're really, really heavy and aggressive. So if you're into like metal music, they're definitely worth to listen and check out. They're a super talented band, a really awesome band to watch.
I'm in.
Sweet. I love it.
That's
add it to the list.
That's a Superheaven reference. But yes, I'm in. I'm in on it. Keep up with the theme.
I have a how do I even lay this up? This could either make it or break it, and I could really be creating a divide here, but no pun intended. So my album reference is Noah Kahan releasing The Great Divide. And Brad and I, pre-recording, we were about to get into it. And I said, wait, let's hit record. Because I might have a controversial opinion. And I love folk music. You guys know I'm into the country. I'm into the folksy kind of sound, bluegrass, all that kind of stuff. And I hate to say it, but I think Noah Kahan, at least for me, it's like he feels very overhyped. And I'm interested to see if this album will bring some new sounds for me. Because like I don't know why, but like I feel like Noah Kahan will be playing and it a lot of times it just sounds like the same song to me, and I know that's me generalizing, and that could be horrible, and I might be drawing a line in the sand and creating enemies, but it's just how I feel. So I'm interested. I'm interested to see how this one plays out.
Yeah, I have very big feelings about this, actually.
Okay, let's hear them.
I could get on an entire tangent about this in music in general. So Noah Kahan like serves a purpose. Like his music. Like I preface this when I told you earlier, I was like, he is not a bad musician by any means.
No.
Like he's good, but like he makes music that like fits a certain level of crowd that like, if you like this specific sound, that is all you, brother. Like that's
right.
Take it and run with it. But
and that's
as
great.
far as that's all. That's cool because
be an expert. Do your thing.
I love the story so far, and the first 3 albums they made sounded exactly the same. And I'm not gonna say they never innovated, nothing. Every single one of it was catchy. I did not care, and I could live with that. I literally look my friends in the face, and be like, "Yeah, man, I love the first 2 The Stories of Our Album." Which album? I play a song and I can't even tell which album it's from. It doesn't matter. And Noah Kahan is kind of the same. But it's for like people who love that specific folk sound that is like a commercialized folk sound. And there's not necessarily wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're the type of person that like very much values like how something was made and like the purpose behind it and the meaning behind it, if that's how you digest your folk music, I don't believe that this album is for you. And that is okay.
What a way to lay it down. Said what I couldn't say in so many words. Keyword also being commercialized.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, and it's commercialized because it appeals to a broader group of people. Like that's how pop works,
This is true.
And like as a pop fan, like I get it. Like, but and it's hard to pop folk music. It's hard to pop it because the whole premise of folk is that it's not pop. So that's
Well, you know what? We talk about all walks of life here on Speed of Sound.
A frequent collaborator with Haley Williams. American football. And friends of the program, Steve Lamos is a NASCAR fan. We connected a little bit. He's the drummer for American football.
Nice.
And whenever he be on the trumpet, a couple of American football songs include the trumpet. He is responsible for that. But
that's cool.
American football, the long-awaited return. LP4, being super creative with the album names. Every American football album is named the exact same thing. It's fine by me. This one's the red one. This one has the red album cover, so that's what I'm going to call it. I'm call it the red one. And I am very excited to hear this. I've been listening to a lot of interviews. The singer kind of went through like a rough pattern in his like personal relationships and in alcoholism, and a lot of things that he touched upon on this album are super personal. And it's something that, it's hard to get that in emo music or emo adjacent music, Midwest emo, because when we grow up, we change, And like, we weren't the kind of like angsty teenagers we used to be. Obviously, like, we keep a lot of our feelings and emotions with us, but in our older age, it's hard to tap into a lot of that. I think at least I say that for myself, and I'm literally 29. So I definitely I had bigger feelings when I was 17, and a band like American Football, who kind of went through like we have an album, we're gone for 10 years and we're back, we're gone for 10 years and life goes on. Yeah. It's actually refreshing to hear something that sounds as strong, I think, as LP1. And even with the singles that I heard, like one of them is featuring Brendan Yates from Turnstile. It kind of tugs on them heartstrings and kind of reminds me why I fell in love with American football in the first place. So I am more than excited for this to come. I'm probably more excited about this than any of the albums I even mentioned like 10 minutes ago, to be honest. So yeah, that and not to say that Isaiah Rashad is not as amazing too. I love Isaiah Rashad, part of Top Dog Entertainment. So the same company that brought us SZA, Kendrick Lamar, Schoolboy Q. Isaiah Rashad is more of the like boom bap kind of 90s sounding like West Coast rap version of those, and kind of in a softer way. He has an album coming out called It's Been Awful. I haven't heard any of the singles, and I'm very excited to actually listen to them and sit down because my life is crazy. But shout out Isaiah Rashad.
Right on.
I've got one. And
hit us with it.
And it's going to probably be one of those albums that's going to curtail my exploration of other music for a while. But I've had this circled on my calendar. So there's a band from England called Seafeel. They've been around since the 90s, and they're putting out their first album in 15 years. It's called Soul HZ, which I don't know if that stands for like Soul Hurts or something, but Soul.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, which is cool. It's coming out on Warp Records, which is the greatest record label of all time. Shout out. They just put out that Square Pusher record we talked about, Aphex Twin, Boards of Canada. They kind of handle all things cool coming out of that part of the world. But they kind of bridge the gap between like dream pop and shoegaze and like ambient music. And they just sound like if you were like standing in like a dense fog and you heard like a sound and you were like constantly like walking to that sound, but you could never quite find the right direction. They're just, it's just blanketed in beauty, like beautiful ambiance, but they just make lush, beautiful music. And the singles that have come out until now and Ever No Way are both really, really awesome. So I've got high expectations for this record for sure.
This means a lot coming from the shoegaze guy. If you're telling me that we're layering things on top of layering things on top of layering things, no sharp edges on this record, it sounds like.
This band came out of the same scene as My Bloody Valentine at the same time, but I don't think they get this. They don't get the credit that like Slow Dive, My Bloody Valentine. They don't get the same like regard as those bands as being like a pioneer of that genre. I think they are a little more avant-garde. They're a little more difficult to put your thumb on as far as like what they're bringing to the table, but like no shortage of beauty. Like if you just go press play on their soundtrack and it's just calming, like just soothe your chaotic brain with their music. It's really, really awesome to listen to.
I'm excited for that. I need a little bit of that.
Yes.
That's great. Oh man, Bobby, you just got the hidden gems. You really do.
The Speed of Sound playlist.
It's a deep library.
Let the pop off.
Yeah.
It's being fed.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we're at the Speed of Sound playlist is gonna have to get locked inside of a safe.
Yeah.
You can't let
Preserve
it out.
it.
Damn right.
Preserve it. The internet can never end because we got to keep it preserved.
I had one mention, that being Casey Musgrave's Middle of Nowhere. We had her Coachella performance, which got me so hyped, so excited for this. With title track being Middle of Nowhere, she performed it at Coachella, rode out on a horse. I mean, but like did it her way too. I mean, in a white tank top and jeans, and just like it felt for Casey, in my opinion, it felt stripped down. And on a stage like Coachella, I have a lot of respect for that. And I was engaged. I was very engaged with it. Also, Dry Spell, she had a music video, another single that was off of this album. so wonderfully written. We are getting funny, witty Casey back again. I mean, I feel like we always had her, but her last 2 albums, in my opinion, they were kind of more of like a whimsical take on her kind of journey that she's gone on. A lot of like religious kind of explorations with God, with The Architect, which was a really big one for her. But now with Middle of Nowhere, it just seems fun. It seems like she's really kind of pushing some boundaries. And like I said, that Dry Spell one, just go check out the music video because it's raunchy and it's funny. Like it's a wild ride. So very excited for that album to come out in the next 2 weeks.
That's great because we can put that on the Speed of Sound YouTube playlist.
Yes, we can.
Bam.
Add it on.
Done.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh, what a lineup. Well, again, we are going to drop everything in our Speed of Sound playlists on Spotify, on Apple, on YouTube. Be sure to check those out. And now, without further ado, we have, gosh, what a guest with us today for our interview with Zack Robbins.
Friends, we are very excited to have our first guest on the Speed of Sound podcast, someone that I have spent a lot of time with, a lot of road miles with, a renowned musician, a renowned drummer, fantastic all-around human, and happens to be a race fan. Our dear friend Zack Robbins, most notably of the band Superheaven. Zack, thanks for being here.
Oh man, you're too kind. Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate it. And thank you guys for having me on here. I'm super excited to chat with you guys.
We got a lot of music to talk about with you, but before we get to that, something that you and I have truly bonded for life, is you're a racing fan.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of us in our rock music world. There's just not a lot of us. So
pretty narrow overlap, I would say.
Yeah, it really is. We were definitely very quiet about it for a long time. I feel like we're getting a little more proud, but I want to ask you, for our listeners, what's your history with the sport? How did you get into it?
Well, I definitely got into the sport of like just stock car racing at a very early age. My mom's family all lived in like the Charlotte area. That's where my like grandparents down there ended up. And we would visit all the time. And, I have super early memories of, being down there, watching races with them. And, super early memories of watching early Daytona 500s with them and stuff like that. And it was just always such a big deal because, my grandpappy, he loved it so much. But I would say the main like formative experience from that was like one time we were down there and they lived in like the Rock Barn area. And so it was like, we went down, him and his boys, they were all going down to Hickory for the races, and like they let me pile in, and I was like, probably 5 or 6 years old or something. And like, I don't know, the whole thing, I was like, this is it. This is the coolest thing I ever saw in my life, like all the sights and the smells, and everyone was having a great time. And it was just a fun night. They had some money on the races. They were betting on stuff. And like, I was obviously not like betting money, but they'd be like, "Oh, you got to pick one too." And like, after the first couple like heat races, I was like picking winners. And then they're all like, "All right, dude, like tell me what's the next thing." It was pretty funny. Yeah. So just growing up, being able to travel to some of the tracks to see some races like Pocono and Dover, with my family. And it was always something cool to, look forward to. And I don't know, just being a kid, I was just super into it. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, basically. So
I have so much regret that like when we did that. So the first time, little backstory for our listeners, like Zack and I first toured together back in, I think it was like 2013.
Yeah. It was like summer kind of 2013.
My old band toured with Zack's band, and we did like a full North American tour. We were on the road together for like 6 weeks, and we somehow never broached the topic of auto racing once. Like just coexisted as musicians. Yeah, we just like did not get into it. And I have so much now that we're so tight and we talk racing all the time. We're like, we've watched racing. I regret that we didn't get into it more.
I know, man. I remember that was like such a crazy tour. Yeah, that was like 6 weeks. That was a long one, and early days for sure. But I remember, we should have connected on that earlier. I remember I don't know, you had some kind of sticker on like one of your cases or something. And I remember I noticed it at like one of the last shows in like Connecticut or something. I was like, oh, you're like a race fan and all, and you were like, oh yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
He's like, man, dude, I actually don't like racing, man.
But gleaned enough information to be like, oh, this guy's like ahead or something. Like you're like, oh yeah, grew up with it with my dad and stuff like that. So, but now look at us now, dude. Come on.
I know. Yeah, I think the last show we played together was in Charlotte, because I think that was a crazy circumstances where like you guys all went to Atlanta, but then we just left and went home. Like we just left the tour because we were so cooked.
Oh, dude, I do. Yo, so I mean, we were all extremely gassed. Like,
yeah,
this was it was like, yeah, that was like crazy. I think that was the first tour like we paid ourselves out, and like it was like the biggest deal. And like I remember like Joe's doing the math like in the van like after the last show, and he's like, yo guys, I'm pretty sure like we can have like $300 each. And we were like, wow, like rolling, like straight to the TV Taco Bell drive-through. And we were kings, dude.
Reason I bring up that Charlotte show is that was the first time I ever broke into Metrolina. So any Lost Speedway fan listening, I
cool.
Literally we loaded in, we sound checked. I took our van, and I'm like, okay, I got to go check something out. I drove over to Metrolina, and I went. There was a gate that had like risen with the roots of the trees, had risen like far enough off the ground that I climbed under it. So I was able to climb under it, and I got in. And it was pretty wild. And just flying by the seat of my pants, had something happen to me, wouldn't have been able to play, So it's pretty crazy. But those were like my days of like breaking into like abandoned speedways everywhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say you probably were doing that all over.
Oh yeah, that era for sure. And I was constantly, like hopping fences or like doing all kinds. And like the object was to be like as secretive as possible. But my band Native had this huge 15 passenger white, like brand new white van. So it's like the most obvious, might as well just be like a billboard that says like, hey, this dude's committing a breaking and entering right now. You know what I mean? Like it was so incredibly obvious. So not that smart in retrospect, but I'm glad I made it through. Zach, I've never asked you, and I want to ask you, tell me about like, I know you guys started playing in like 2008, and I even have like a memory of you guys playing in the region in like Hammond before we had ever met. Like, sure. I think you maybe played with Doyle's from Cloakroom's old band Grown Ups. But what was the path like of being like a musician growing up and then like forming Daylight with those guys and kind of carrying onward?
Well, so yeah, I mean, I know. So there was a little bit of time with Daylight before I had joined up with those guys. So they were definitely doing a little bit of touring, and while I was in like just kind of bands, like local kind of hardcore bands, like they were adjacent to those guys. And so yeah, I was more just like acquaintances of that group, Daylight, and I was seeing them playing shows around, and I think I saw their first show in Taylorsville, and like they were doing some stuff. And at the same time, I had been playing in a bunch of bands with friends and doing all kinds of stuff. And then we just, Jay kind of tricked me one day. He like messaged me on Facebook and was like, dude, you want to jam? And then I was like at work, and they're like going to pick me up later to jam. And he's like, oh, by the way, like we're going to jam some Daylight songs. And I was like, well, that's pretty sick. Like, I think what you guys are doing is pretty cool. And so, yeah, I mean, I joined up with them like right after they had put out that last 7-inch. So pretty much when I started, we were just jumped right into writing songs together, and that's the stuff that ended up being the first Jar like LP full length.
Wow.
Yeah.
When Cloakroom formed in 2012, and we were talking to Run for Cover, and we would end up working with them. You guys were already kind of like at the forefront of their attention. So like that was kind of I did know a ton about you guys beforehand. Obviously we were from you guys were from Philly, we were from the Midwest. So there wasn't a lot of like crossed paths, but once we got integrated into the Run for Cover orbit, you guys were like there, turnover was there. So can you remember much of that time, like getting with Run for Cover, working with those bands? Like you guys were all doing some pretty exciting things at that moment.
Dude, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I definitely remember a lot about that time doing stuff, with RFC, and it was a super. Oh, there's just so much going on. Like that's definitely how I got introduced to Cloakroom. Was I think we were crashing at the RFC offices in Boston after a show, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we just been talking to this band. Like you should check it out." I think Alex Henry was still living and working with them at the time, and he put me on, and it was I was like, dude, this is awesome right away. Can't wait to meet these guys. And it was cool. The kind of the bands at that time that everyone was just kind of buddies, and everyone was really just excited to be hearing what other people were doing. And I don't know, the fact that we could all share stages together and, end up doing some traveling together was just, it was super cool. And, just super exciting. Yeah.
I had never experienced that before. My old band had come from a very competitive environment on a record label that was really difficult to deal with at times. So going in the Run for Cover, which was fostering all this talent, and they were immediately like, hey, meet this band. Oh, you guys should all tour together. And this guy's going to do your music videos. It was really an eye-opening experience. You made so many friends right away, that I mean, we're all still buddies to this day. I still see, it's crazy. There's the alumni of RFC is still very strong,
totally.
I feel like we're all still touring together and hanging out at shows and everything.
Yeah, definitely have made a lot of friends to this day, and yeah, that's grateful for that for sure.
So we wanted to ask you about, and sorry if this is still a sore subject, obviously it's been 10 years now, but the name change, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So we've never talked about this. This just happened. I just saw it happen on the internet, and before I knew it, there was copies of Jar with a new band name on it. Mm-hmm. So this is at the height of your activity. You just put out your first debut, you guys are touring everywhere, and all of a sudden you guys change your name. So what was that time like?
Yeah, I wouldn't really recommend having to change your band name once
after releasing an album.
Once you get any kind of momentum going, and then you're just let's just completely change it. But it was kind of a funny now situation, but at the time it was definitely a pain in the ass, and I'm glad it happened, because I do think ultimately Superheaven is a better just band name in general. Searching for our band when it was called Daylight, or trying to promote anything, it was bro, we're just what is
Wikipedia article?
Yeah, it was
about,
just
the sun.
Yeah. exactly. So yeah, I mean, basically there was another band in Spain. There's a pop punk band, I guess, or I forget what kind of band they were, but they owned the trademark to the name Daylight internationally. So after we put out the first record with RFC, we were going to try out something different and put out the record we were going to put out the next record with Side One Dummy. And they were like, yeah, we're not going to be able to put out this record if you don't even own the name. So you're gonna have to think of a new name here, guys. And yeah, I mean, like I said, not ideal, but we did what we had to do, and I think a lot of people were were like, okay, whatever, like, because band names are kind of arbitrary anyways. Like, we're definitely pretty much out of them at this point, I think. But like, I don't know. It worked out. It worked out just fine, I think.
I did want to talk to you about, so, you guys went to Side One Dummy. We would leave. We went to Relapse.
Yeah.
So leaving the nest, right? Leaving the Run for Cover community we just talked about. Like, I know I have a lot of regret, honestly, if I'm looking back on it. Like, I'm grateful to have worked with Relapse Records. It's cool, but like, I often wonder if we would have continued the trajectory with Run for Cover, what that might look like today for Cloakroom.
For sure.
Like, I do feel like we kind of lost that community, and we kind of went. Felt like we're more on our own. I was wondering what was your experience like leaving and going to a different label at that time?
Yeah, I mean, I think at the time we just wanted to do something different, but also in that era, I mean, I think we just fell into like kind of definitely like a more of a self I don't know, critique or something, or be like, what should we be doing next or something, like, whereas like, so like, moving to a new label and trying to, now you're working with a manager and like we have a different booking agent and stuff. It's like we're more trying to do these things, and I think what I most liked about the RFC kind of period, looking back, is going from like that to the Side One Zone, was like when we were putting out the stuff, RFC, just like we didn't know anything, so we weren't aware of like anything to do with the record business industry. People, we didn't know any of, like, we just knew, well, we just thought we knew what we were doing. So I think, I don't know, having that experience of like, when you make a record and you just are totally green, you don't know anything. I think it's hard. It's hard once you like start to like do the process, and like then you start second guessing things. You start looking side to side at what your peers are doing, and then like, I know, like, just personally, like, it's hard not to do those things, especially that time. And I had to learn the hard way, I think, not to do that. But, yeah, I don't know. Definitely like a very distinct periods kind of in my mind, even though it's only really like just a couple years removed from each other. But, a lot of life can happen in those times, and certainly a lot of time spent on the road together. And, that's good in a lot of musical ways. And, in terms of playing, that's awesome. But when you're young and you don't communicate well with one another, and things start to happen and build, and like, you don't address things, like, that's when that other stuff just comes more into picture. So, yeah,
I feel like, my old band Native, like, we started when we were teenagers, and by the time we would have crossed paths, we were at our breaking point of being like, when we did that tour together in 2013, every day was like, I'm going to fight these three dudes by the end of the day. Like, there's going to be just a dust cloud of arms and feet kicking. Like, it's just going to be a huge brawl outside of the venue.
Yeah.
And then Cloakroom for me was like my adult band. Like, okay, we've all respectively been through the shit. Now we're getting together. We know how to respect one another. But you guys didn't form a new band. You guys just stayed that band. I know that after you guys put out Ours is Chrome with Side One Dummy, and then I felt like you guys were just touring a ton, and then all of a sudden you just were gone.
Right.
So what led to that hiatus? Was it what you're talking about, like kind of the tension building, like maybe the need for a break?
Yeah. I mean, I think pretty much, yes. I mean, we had definitely just put a lot of pressure on ourselves for that second record, and it's been really funny because like we're doing a show in Philly here in next month to like celebrate the anniversary of that record, like 11 years ago somehow. Crazy. And like we're playing the whole thing at the show. So
finally,
yeah,
Nice.
Right, finally running it down all the way, like, and that's the thing. That's what I'm saying is it's so funny now. Like we relearn a bunch of songs, some of them which we've never played, and like at the end of the practice, we run through them, and we're like, "Oh, this is pretty good." Like, I think is at the time we were just like, "Yo, it's not enough. Like we missed this or that, or I don't know, just like kind of just lost in the sauce of like, just like when it's your whole life." And you're like trying so hard and you're out there every day. And when you're on bigger support tours, you're filling in the off day shows. Like, it wasn't like a big conversation as the band to be like, what's next here? I think it was just like, I don't know, let's just put this down for a sec and see what happens. Like, let's live some life. Like we did play a handful of times in like the off years. Like we would play like, play like a Planned Parenthood like benefit show or something cool, you one-offs here and there, like for friends or something like that. But yeah, I think just like individually, I think just needed some time apart and to live like our individual lives. And we each like all made music outside of that band in that time period too, which I think was pretty important for us to just develop more individually, because I think we did and still do work together pretty well collaboratively, but I think at that time, like we just weren't exactly sure, maybe 100% like where our own individual voices were in that. So, just can lead to situations where, I don't know, you want to maybe feel more possessive than you should. So it feels good to be on the other side of that now.
Yeah, and I'm like selfishly stoked on that because I love Spirit of the Beehive, and I feel like that probably wouldn't have happened if not for the hiatus.
Yeah, man. Well, Spirit is like their own enigma of a band. Like I love playing with that group so much. I started playing with them in 2021, so it was kind of like coming out of COVID, right when they were putting out that record, Entertainment Death. So just recently, that came out like 5 years ago, which is pretty insane. So
damn, I feel old now.
Dude,
Jeez.
Telling me. But yeah, so I can't believe I've been playing with them for 5 years because I've been such a fan of theirs from like the early days of that band. Like I think I saw one of their first shows when they played as like a 3-piece and at Philomoco like a million years ago, and loved that first record that they put out, and we would see him around town and eventually became buds. And in 2016, they did a full US tour with Superheaven. So it was like Spirit,
Nice.
Spirit, and then Creepoid, another Philly band, and then Superheaven. We did the full US, and that was awesome, and really became like better friends with them during that tour. And yeah, just stayed in contact, and good buddies with all them. And their drummer, who I was living with at the time, like in 2020, he was just ready to do some other stuff, and I was like, bro, you should not quit. And he was like, I gotta quit, dude. A couple weeks later, phone rings. I'm like, all right, I'm down. Yeah, I'm down.
I'm in.
Oh yeah.
So let's talk 2023. I know, so obviously we'd seen each other at shows like in the interim, like you were always diligent. You'd always come out to Cloakroom Philly shows.
I'm a cloak head, dude. I'm a cloak truther for sure.
Dude, we're bonded, man. We're bonded for life, But I feel like I was unaware of what was happening in your orbit of Superheaven, because I'd see you guys like, oh, we're playing Outbreak. Oh, we're doing this. I'm like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that they're playing some shows. But I was on like, I'm not on TikTok, admittedly, so I missed this whole thing happening. And all of a sudden Cloakroom gets the offer to play your guys' 10-year Jar anniversary shows, right?
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this offer and I'm like, damn, these are some big rooms. I'm like, this is ambitious. Like, okay, cool. They're gonna really try to like play some big rooms. And then all of a sudden these shows all sell out like instantly. And I'm like, oh dude, something's happening here that I've completely missed. And then all of a sudden
you weren't the only one who missed it, bro.
I mean, dude, from my perspective of being like in the wood shop and being like, oh, tuned out of the outside world, and all of a sudden I'm like, dude, I mean, I've always been a huge advocate for your band and always thought you were due for more attention, but then it was just like, whoa, to watch that happen to my friends.
Yeah.
Basically seemingly overnight. What was that experience like for you? When did you start to notice it happening? And then what was the whole process like?
Yeah, dude. So that era was really funny. I mean, so we did play Outbreak Fest, summer of 2022. We got an offer to go play that fest, and everybody was like, you know what? That sounds really fun. Like, it'd be cool to do that. Like, let's hit it. So we flew over to UK and played like one day at the fest. And then we did like a one-off show at like, just a kind of pub venue, like a smaller, like 150 or 200 cap joint. And that sold out, which was sick. Like, because we hadn't been to England since 2016. So it's like, It's a long time. And you're like, I don't know, dude, like we got to offer to play this fest. Like some people still like our band, like, it hasn't been on the front burner of any of our lives for a little bit. And, so that was really awesome. And that was like, okay, well, like that was fun. That was cool. Like people like the shit. Maybe we'll consider doing some stuff in the future. So I think we, then the rest of the year, I think just talks amongst ourselves and was like, well, it's the Jar like 10-year anniversary next fall or spring rather, like May. So let's try to set up like some anniversary shows. And yeah, we had to figure out a bunch of stuff because like we didn't have any of the infrastructure like as a band because we were just like dormant for like so long. So that was like we were totally dusting off like so much shit. Like our gear was getting used like in other ways, thankfully, and everybody was pretty much playing and shit. But it was like we had to figure out how to like get a booking agent for this stuff. It's like to do all that shit, because like it takes a little help. You need somebody on the inside, unfortunately. So yeah, so that was when we hit up you, Bobby, because we were like, we gotta do some shows with Cloaker, and like it'd be so sick. And we announced the shows just kind of as normal. We announced like doing the church in Philly, which we were like, that's kind of ambitious. Let's see what we can do. It's like legendary spot, been there a million times. And
I wanted to go to that so bad.
Yeah, dude, but
I missed that one.
Sold out. And then they were like, all right, we're gonna upgrade it to UT. And that was with the first initial kind of things we were like, whoa,
Huge.
that's a significant bump. It's a significant bump up. It's like more than twice the size. And I had been able to play there a bunch of times with Superheaven and other iterations, but never like as our show, you know what I mean? So that was pretty crazy. And so like it was around that time leading up to the shows, like they were selling really well. And I think I'm not on like TikTok either, but people started sending me stuff being like, oh yeah, like I saw your song on TikTok and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I don't really know what happened first. Like or if it was just like I don't know. Who knows how any of this shit happens? Like, truthfully, and I think that's kind of the magic thing of it. Is like, I don't know. Like, we put out this music so long ago, it just kind of like sat in the incubator of just people like sifting through music, and generations coming and going and being like, yo, actually, like, I kind of bang with this. Like, I don't know. I think there's, I don't know, something to be said for like just the magic of it, because people like in the biz, they try to create that shit and try to be like, we can do plants and this, or like create the stuff, but I don't know, the true organic stuff where it's just like people, it gets passed around, and like then you're like, oh, I like this, I'm gonna check it out, and you're like, oh, I like the rest of this music too. Like, that's been really cool and validating that, even though it's like has been like absolutely like there was like huge like TikTok moment with youngest daughter and stuff. It's like, I'm so fucking glad that when we play the shows, like people are having a good time the whole time, and it's not just like everybody loves one song and they're just like chilling and waiting. So I don't know. It's been crazy for sure though. That 2023 era was wild for sure.
Yeah, I went to one of the shows. I think it was after the Cloakroom run. And that was the first time I had seen you guys since thinking about big rooms. The last time I saw you guys before that was in Margate at O'Malley's.
Dang,
Margate,
dude. Are you for real?
It was with Roswell Kid.
Dude.
And yeah, I was there.
Wow, you're OG. That is awesome.
Dude, seriously. It was like right after Ours and Chrome came out. And then I saw you guys
O'Malley's, bro. Dude, that place, like the smoking bar.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Outside
dude.
there was like a hibachi place.
Yes,
like,
dude. Yo, there's all chickens running around the whole back of that.
Yeah,
and,
bro.
Dude, like sound checking in front of like a full townie lineup at the bar, just like staring you down, smoking cigs. Like, oh man, what a spot!
Damn.
What a spot!
There's dudes at the bar that didn't even like pay for a ticket. Like you could go to the O'Malley's and sit at the bar and not watch the show, and then there's kids paying to see the show. It's funny as shit.
Crazy setup. Crazy setup.
Yeah. But like, yeah, and then the next time I see you guys, like after the Cloak run, was at the Roxy in Atlanta, and I'm like,
yeah.
Wow,
what the hell? Like
Holy
it was
cow.
it was so cool to see, and like obviously all the phones came out for youngest daughter, but like that whole room was jumping for everything else.
Yeah, man.
And I was loving it.
Dude, that's cool. That's so cool. You were at both those shows. Yeah, the Roxy. I love that spot too in Atlanta. Like I feel like there's a bunch of cool like rooms like that there. But man, like, yeah, that's so cool that you were early days with this shit, man.
Dude, that's why like you guys are not on TikTok, but I am. And when I saw, like, I'm like, mindlessly scrolling through, and I'm like, wait, how do y'all know that song? And I'm going in the comments, and I'm like, oh, everybody's like, what song is this? What song is this? And I started sending it to a bunch of different people, and I'm like, can y'all believe Superheaven's on TikTok now? Like, what the hell?
Dude.
Who's like, what's next?
Brad, was it you?
Yeah. It wasn't me.
Brad.
It was
We
you.
might be finding out.
I mean, I'm responsible for sharing it.
Surprise.
Was
but
it
I'm
you?
not responsible for the trend at all.
Yeah.
I was just stoked that like a band that I like did not figure that TikTok kids would like know about.
Sure.
It was happening, and I'm like, damn, that is so random that it's youngest daughter of all things. Like,
I love that though. I love how organic
yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, like it doesn't feel manufactured, and it's like, God, here's this hidden gem. So it's really cool to hear that story because it like, at least it gives me like faith in TikTok. You know what I mean? Like, yes, here's one. I don't want to say underdogs, but it's like, yeah, you know,
Totally.
Truly
It's cool.
underdogs, though. You know.
yeah.
And it's sick because you guys have been able to convert this viral moment into, I mean, it's amazing to see. And the bridge of the audience is like, I remember being in New York at the New York show we played together, and I'm selling t-shirts after our set, and the people that are at this show, like, yeah, there's people we grew up with that are there for the nostalgic, like, oh yeah, sick, 10 years. I can't believe it's been 10 years. But then there's like 16-year-olds and like they're getting dropped off by their mom, and I'm like sitting there doing the math. I'm like, you were in first grade when we were hucking it 10 years ago when we were in our vans together, you know.
That's
so
wild.
like,
Yes, sir.
it's eye-opening, man. It's really, really cool to see. And I mean, I'm elated for you because you're one of us, right? We're in the same pool. We came from the same background, right? And it's just like anytime one of us gets a win, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean?
Dude,
like
absolutely.
one for the good guys, you know? So
Yeah.
I've just been, when I came to that, you guys played at the Metro in Chicago, you know, and
Yeah.
you guys had me
God.
out, super, super cool. I just remember sitting in the balcony and watching you guys and just watching the crowd and just like having this, like, I don't know if I've been proud like that of my friends before, but the sense of pride I had where it's like, God, like it just felt really good to see you guys have that moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you saying that. And yeah, I mean, I remember hanging out at that Metro show, and that was just super surreal. I mean, we're talking like legendary Chicago venue. Like, this is the venue that the first time I ever saw the Metro Chicago was just like watching like whatever that Pumpkins live thing that was recorded there like so long ago, and you're just like, the fact that we're playing our show here is just, it's too cool. And I have had moments like that with friends bands where you're just like what you're describing, where it's like you're at that Outbreak Fest in 2022, I was able to watch our friend's Basement play like the most epic set like I ever saw them play. And it was like, this was another band that, we were day ones with, like, two bands in the same van touring the United States for 5.5 weeks. Like, I don't know, just have done it all. And then to be able to stand in the back and just like watch your friends like just totally be doing their thing and have everyone else just gotten on board with it is just such a cool feeling for sure.
Well, I have a sidebar question.
Yeah.
So in regards to like, obviously like you guys did the 10th anniversary tour and kept that momentum going. And obviously I think the natural step to that was like, oh, like, screw it, let's make a record. It's been like, over like what, 11 or 12 years.
Yeah.
And for self-titled, I figured there'd probably like some sort of pressure in like wanting to like make something that doesn't feel like disingenuous, but also doesn't like, I don't know, like not capture the moment. And I was curious, like, were there a lot of songs from like the in-between time that like made the cut for the new one, or is it just like all new written music? And like, what was that process like?
Yeah. For the new record was all new written music together that basically came about. So yeah, like you're saying, like we're playing really good shows, and throughout like having practices for those shows, you start, someone's like just playing, warming up, like getting their amp going, playing a riff. Like I remember distinctly Joe is playing like a riff on the bass. He's like our resident riff lord, and he I love that. Yeah, he's always riffing on something. But yeah, so he was playing something, and it was just like, and we all kind of just end up kicking off, just jamming on something, and then we just put a little something together. We're like, oh, this part might be cool if we did this, and then you record a live demo, and then you're like,
dude, off a rehearsal, that's badass.
You're just like, you're like, oh wow, we're still a band. I think we still
we're pretty good.
Yeah,
we might be able to do
the
this.
Chemistry's still there.
Yeah.
and like not in a way that I didn't think we could, but it was just like I hadn't, for that experience with Superheaven specifically, I hadn't had that experience in such a long time. It had been 10 years, since like we got to put our heads together on something, put a couple mics up at just like the studio just to do like a live raw recording, and then listen back and be like, there's a sound here that I didn't really like when you're playing it, you don't hear it as much, but listening back, you're like, we got a sound going here. So we just
Dude, I love that.
Kind of kept it rolling, and would write, and like now more so than ever, we've always been a really collaborative band with one another, but definitely coming back to writing together, it's been really fun. And we definitely just, it feels like it's like, I don't know, it's always been like a very like democratic, like even split kind of a band. Like it's got to be unanimous or we're not going to do it kind of thing. And even more so musically with this one, it was like just kind of throwing out stuff, just trying to make it as good as we can, and following some threads, even though if they don't pan out to anything, it's like it takes less time to just try something in most situations rather than talk about the reasons why you don't think it would work or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wise words.
Yeah.
Wow, this is another personal question. All right. My absolute like all-time favorite Superheaven song, to the point where I'm not going to show anybody, but I've learned that song on bass. I've Been Bored is like my absolute favorite. And you guys don't play it at all. Like what's the vibes? You hate the song? What's going on?
All right. Listen, I don't hate the song. It's funny. We played the song a bunch, like around the time when Ours is Chrome came out, and we did bust it out a couple times last year. I don't know. You know what? So it's funny. Like really in my podcast bag right now. I just did so Taylor and Jake from Superheaven, they have a podcast called Quit Your Band. And
I heard of it.
Yeah. So they, because we're doing like the anniversary Chrome show, me and Joe went on their pod. So we talked about Ours is Chrome and a bunch of stuff. So that should be coming out soon. And we do talk about, the reason I bring it up is because we talk about this song specifically and like why we don't play it as much. And like I can't say there's like a good reason, man. Like some of us just don't love it. Like I'm in the side that like would be down, but I don't know. I think the main thing is like some people think it's too long. I don't know, dude. Here, like being in a band is so weird, dude. Like because what you think is different than what like the people that are listening to your music thinks, but like, and like that's the point. But like I it's funny when like they don't line up and you're like,
dude, I have beef with that opinion that it's too long, because if that's too long, why does poor Eileen have like 3 choruses?
Bro, so that's exactly the issue is the choruses. The issue is the chorus. So I don't know, dog. And I've pitched like, let's just play it like shorter. I don't care. Like no one's even gonna notice. You know what I mean? Like it'd be fine.
Exactly.
So listen, I'll put in a good word for you. I really will.
Thank you. I can't be at that 10-year show, so I can't like, because you guys are gonna play it first, obviously. So I can't just be like, you're just gonna quench me like that. I'm not even gonna be there. So I gotta wait some other time to hear it.
Dude, I might have to put up a camera for you then, if that's the only way we can get it.
We want to pick your brain about. We do New Music Friday. We do Pitch Me a Band. You know what is on the horizon? What are you listening to like that's coming up that you're excited about? And then you got to pitch us a band we might not know. Man.
So you texted me this, and then all of a sudden I got stressed out, dude.
There's homework. All of a sudden, there's homework. You know.
All of a sudden, I was like, oh no, I got to find some new music.
Oh no.
What is like an artist that you love that you feel like people don't really know about in general? Could be like all time.
Damn, okay.
And just tell us why we should listen to it, like pitch us on it.
All right. I don't know. Just first thing that pops in my head, one of my favorite bands that I feel is underlooked, or maybe, I don't know, even maybe in current times, but definitely one of my favorite bands is that band Autolux. They put out a few records in like the late 2000s, and then they put out a record not too long ago in the recent years. And man, oh man, they've always been one of my absolute favorites, and I feel like they don't get enough love. Like I saw them. I think the name of the record they put out is called like Pussy's Dead or something a few years ago. And
I think it's like a Sopranos reference or something weird.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
But
yeah.
they're playing. I go to see the tour in Philly, and like this is the first time I've seen the band play, and I've been listening for years, and like I'm like in my head, I'm like, this thing's is like a ripper show, sold out, like, absolutely. Like, how could it not be? Like, and it's like just criminally unattended, and I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I just know there's so many bands like that that you're just like, damn, this is like good music that I just feel like I connect to, and so that's a band that I would say people should check out. I feel like they probably influenced a ton of bands.
Cloakroom. I mean, that was one of the first bands we all agreed on. That was kind of what started. I think Brian Bush, our original drummer, was playing Autolux at the warehouse that he and Doyle worked at, and Doyle was like, "Who's playing Autolux in here?" And that was when they bonded and decided to jam. So like that started Cloakroom, honestly.
Nice, dude.
Wow.
Very cool. Yeah. That's a cool
Incredible
connect.
band.
Yeah.
If you could like paint a picture, what kind of flavor are they? Like, what are you doing when you slap these guys on?
Well, I mean, from being a drummer, their drummer is absolutely hands down one of my favorite current drummers going. Carla Azar is her name.
Okay.
And Feel for Days.
Badass.
Like, it's crazy. But so like always there's like that the rhythmic element to everything that's happening is awesome. And one of their members is this dude Greg Edwards, and he's around a lot in a bunch of other bands. He plays guitar in Failure. He plays guitar touring with a bunch of other bands. Like I can't even remember, like but like I don't know, that kind of world. And so I don't know. They what's the sound though, dude? Like
it is very 90s reminiscent, like obviously from Greg Edwards having that, Failure was like an overlooked band in the 90s, sort of like Hum, like a one-hit wonder. So they were kind of at the back end of grunge, like when grunge kind of started to take that like space rock turn weird in the mid 90s. So Greg kind of carried that over, but Carla, the drummer, as Zach was saying, like she brings like a jazz element to it, which gets it it really throws it like off kilter in a way that like it makes them like one of one. I think that pairing makes them one of one, True,
like actually unique band.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Definitely. They, their melodies are very rooted in the 90s. What tickles your brain from the 90s, but like I said, her presence alone just makes them like they don't really fit in the mold. They're kind of like, you know what I mean? They're kind of so, and there's a lot of cool like electronic elements to them too. Yeah. They've got like some cool, they've got great beats and like a lot of great synth work, and just there's
great
bass
a lot
stuff
there
for everybody.
Like
yeah.
Lots of cool fuzz bass, like riffs. Ooh. And they got it all.
That's a bucket list for Cloakroom if we ever got to play with them. Like when they did that last album and they were touring, I tried so hard.
Dude.
Just like we'll play before the show even starts. Just like let us be in the room, and like it just did not happen. So if that ever does happen, that might be like, well, we're good. We've done everything we need to do,
Totally. Yeah. I could see it though. And I saw they're like teasing new music every once in a while. So man, like I could see it, and you can just will that one into existence,
Yeah, hopefully. We got a new Failure record on the horizon. Speaking of Failure, so
saw that.
Hopefully,
that New Music Friday.
Yeah, hopefully that leads to some activity. But
yeah, super cool. Got to watch Failure play last year at a festival. That was super cool. Sound amazing.
What a band!
Yeah,
what a band! Yeah. Well, wrapping things up, Zach. Thank you for your time, dude. Thanks for kind of helping us usher in a new era of the pod, being our first guest. Dude,
absolutely. I'm happy to talk to you guys, and grateful you guys would ask me to come on. I hope we did okay. I hope I didn't get like too rambly or anything like that. I don't know.
Brilliant. I would say it's brilliant.
It was awesome. We're honored.
It's great.
Thanks, guys.
And that was Zack Robbins. My gosh, what a conversation. it was such a pleasure to have him on and really to see him open up too. And just to comment on Bobby, how well you know him. It was so wonderful to see that background and that dance between the two of you talking about your history together and kind of his experience. And Brad, your fandom to shine and for his excitement to leap off the screen and obviously in our ears as well. It was just so wonderful to have him on the show today.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it was kind of a lob just because I know Zach super well, but like a lot of that stuff we never really talk about, like, and it's cool also, like when we're talking about our ancient history together, like to get his perspective on a lot of those things that was happening. Cause like, we're always just current events. Like we don't do a lot of reminiscing, and I've definitely never talked to him about them changing their name and them leaving the them going to a new record label, like all these things that were really interesting to kind of get his take on, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just glad to like finally peel back the layers of like all the music that I've listened to like through the years and get like his honest opinion on stuff. And I rarely get to talk to the people that have made like some of my favorite music, and having that opportunity was pretty cool. And like, I barely get starstruck, man. I was starstruck. I was like, man, I really, really wanted to get a lot of those questions out there. So he was super sick, and hopefully we can make something happen, get to a race and hang out.
Yeah, we definitely need to make a full team hangout happen this season.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us and listening to The Speed of Sound today. Please be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Check us out on YouTube, on socials, and we'll see you next time on Speed of Sound.